Welcome back, and in today's video I'm going to give you 5 cons of being a carpenter. Now I know usually I'm recommending and advocating for the trades, but I think to be fair and transparent I got to give you some of the drawbacks, because I don't want you to come to me in my comment section saying that you became an apprentice and you dropped out of college, or you came straight from high school, or quit your previous line of work and came and joined the trades, and now you're saying
this sucks. It's dirty, it's filthy, the guys are terrible, and now it's your fault because you didn't tell me.
So in this video, I'm gonna go over all those subjects and more. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get into it. Now let's talk about the commute. The commute is so rough because it's very hard to find a place that's gonna be like right next to your house. For the most part, most of my jobs are about 45 minutes to an hour from my house, no matter where it is, whether it's north or south of me. There's very rarely ever a job site that's right next to me, and even if there were, say I had a job that was 5 minutes from my house, it'd only be a short amount of time until a new job had to start somewhere else in the city, or a new project popped up, so I'll be moving again. So even if you do live, like say you're centrally located in one of the bigger cities like Portland, you're right in the middle, you may have a job site that's close 1 month or 1 year, but then later on your new job site is going to be 30 miles south of you or 100 miles north of you. So it makes it really hard to be in like walking distance from your house, or like biking distance. Not even the fact that you have to bring your tools a lot of times, so that's not really feasible. But the commute is usually a grind, and usually we know what the housing market is doing, it's hard to really live in the city and get a reasonable price house. So that's one of the other aspects that make it difficult to commute to and from your job. Now, just to piggyback on that topic of the city and commuting, working in the city is usually terrible just because there's limited parking. That means you have to get there earlier and earlier, and then it becomes like a arms race, right? So once people see that, hey, if I get to the job site at 6:30, all the parking is filled up, I'm gonna come at 6:25, and then that becomes a new standard. So now guys are now coming to the job site an hour beforehand just to make sure they get a parking spot, and that makes things really rough in the city because there's limited parking all the time. And then you have people who live in the city who aren't leaving until after your job site opens up. So that makes things really hard also. And just the space. A lot of times when you're in the city, you're gonna have limited space. So that means like all the trades gonna be on top of each other when it comes to parking, when it comes to storing materials, especially when you have like steel beams or things that have to be installed outside the building. All that's gonna be smashed in up behind your fence so that it's not being a public nuisance. So it makes it really hard to navigate your job site in the middle of the city. But the problem is that's where most of the work is, because you're having buildings get remodeled, you're building high rises, you're doing all that low-income housing, all that's getting done in the city. So again, it's really cramped. And not just that, I don't know what happened in 2020, but it seems like there's a lot more aggressive homeless people, and just people in general. People are more angsty, people are more angry, and so you deal with that a lot. You might be having a pick and you have a forklift and you're lifting some material to one side of the building to another. People in their cars are yelling, getting angry with you, and as a carpenter you can't really say much. It's like if you're a waitress or someone else in another service industry, you have to kind of bite your tongue, because if you lash out, you're gonna get fired. I must be honest with you. Same thing with a homeless person. If they confront you, you have to just be kind and polite and try to get away from the situation, because if you are rude or really aggressive, you most likely will get fired. And that's just a part of the job, because if you're being rude and someone videotapes that, it can become a big thing. So always make sure you're understanding that you're still in the service industry, even though you're a carpenter, and that the perception of you is the perception of your company and what you represent. So make sure that you're being the best you can be, even in really tough situations in cities. Another huge con for a lot of people, and that's going to be how dirty you get on the job site. Now, if you are a self-proclaimed pretty boy or pretty girl and you don't like to get dirt under your nails, you are going to have a tough time in carpentry and construction period, because a lot of times you're required to just pick something up, whether it be like carrying formwork and put it on your shoulder, not worrying about your outward appearance. You might have to pick up lumber that's soaking wet that might have been thrown straight in the dirt, and now you're carrying that on your body. So you're gonna get filthy all the time, whether it be from framing, siding, concrete concrete formwork, you're gonna get filthy. And a lot of times, if a job site is newer or if a job site doesn't have the accommodations, you might have to eat in your vehicle. And so you're also gonna have your vehicle get filthy. So construction, especially carpentry, is gonna have you dirty as hell. You're gonna leave the job site and you're gonna go to a normal, like a supermarket or maybe a restaurant to get something to eat, and people are gonna look at you like you had the plague. They're gonna look at you like you're disgusting, but guess what?
That money you make,
it makes up for all that. You know what I'm saying? Dirty hands, clean money. I take that every day of the week. Now, some of the people in the trades or in carpentry in general are just assholes. And that's something you have to, realize, that a lot of the trades have not like upgraded or, changed their value systems. So a lot of them are still pretty mean and aggressive. And so you have to know how to navigate that. And that's something that's really important. A lot of people will not put up with, disrespect. A lot of people will not put up with being called out of their name or anything like that. So that's understandable, but you're not gonna have the same level of politeness that you might have in a corporation or in an office where everybody's working in cubicles and everybody's kind of smiling. Construction has a lot of pressure, and so pressure affects you in different ways. You have a different level of productivity that you need, and it's physically demanding. And so a lot of time, guys don't know how to communicate properly. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of guys do not know how to communicate hey, I'm going through a hard time right now. I'm really stressed. I have all these demands on me. Can you help me do this? A lot of times hey, you mother F this, go get that piece of shit this. And so you're gonna be dealing with that a lot. So if that's something that you cannot handle, the really abrasive, callous nature of really rough people, this is gonna be a hard job for you. One of the things that I do though to mitigate some of those things was I try to kill people with kindness. I want to make sure that my attitude is not, adding on and adding fuel to the fire if someone's having a terrible day. I try to be ultra polite so that if they keep coming at me really aggressive, now I've isolated that. It's not a me issue, it's a them issue. And so then you can adjust accordingly and figure out how you want to move forward. If they want to be persistently aggressive towards you or angry at you, then you know that you had no part of their attitude, and then you can move accordingly with that knowledge. So again, guys in the trades, you have a lot of felons, you have a lot of guys in the military, a lot of guys who grew up in this their whole entire life. And when I say guys, I mean that because the majority of the trades are going to be men. So understand that when it comes to testosterone and aggression, you have to deal differently than other occupations. That's just the clear cut of it, right? Last but not least, let's talk about injuries. You are probably not going to make it out of your career in the trades without getting some kind of injuries. Now, some might be minor, some might be a little bit bigger. I almost cut my finger off with a portaband. That was nuts. And that just happened because of lapse of judgment, not really thinking about what I was doing. And it was right before a break time, so I just did something sketch and I hurt myself. That's not something I advocate for you to do, but sometimes you'll get too comfortable and you might get injured. But also, sometimes you may be doing a job, everything's safe, everything proper, and you still might get injured. A lot of times with the big rotor hammers, you may be drilling into something, it catches a piece of rebar, and it swings back, hits you in the face. There's nothing you can really do for some things to make it 100% safe. And so you're gonna be way more likely to get injured in a job as a carpenter than maybe the average job in the office or, and maybe in a school or something. So understand that and know that you are risking more life and limb than any other job. There's a lot more fall hazards, a lot more crushed hazards, where someone's with equipment not paying attention. So there's a lot more things where you have to be more on your P's and Q's. You can't have two headphones in and just doing your thing and not worrying about anybody else. It's a lot more like a defensive driver when you're on the job site. You're constantly making sure that you're checking on for yourself, but also making sure that you're looking for everybody else and seeing what they're doing, because what they're doing is also going to affect your life. And make sure when people are calling overhead, you're locating where the lift is, you're locating where the hazards are, and you're constantly keeping awareness so that you're not going to be a casualty or an injury report later on. And so that's one of the most important things when it comes to injuries on the job too, is also making sure that you know where your hand placement is, that you know the equipment really good, and that you're not putting yourself in undue risk for like a 5-second, quicker process. I've seen guys jump out of boom lifts into windows, get downstairs quicker. There's certain things people do that are very, very unsafe that they don't think about it, maybe pulling the guard back on a skill saw and just putting a nail in there, something to keep it back, and just cutting over and over again and not worrying about it. They could easily cut their leg with the saw. So these are things that people did back in the day, and that's why you see guys missing fingers, you know what I mean, way more often, because they did shit rough and tumble and with no thought of the safety hazards. And so now that things have changed as far as requirement, OSHA, they're a lot more on top of it. Things are a little bit slower now, but they're a lot safer. So yes, things are safer now than they ever have been since the inception of construction, but there are chances you're still gonna get injured, whether it slips, trips, carrying something that's kind of heavy and you're having strains in your body. You're not going to get out of the carpentry field without some kind of nicks and bruises, no matter what you do. I don't care if you're perfect, you're gonna get some kind of injury. So I want you to know up front that that is some of the risk, and that's why we get paid more, just because of the bodily hazards we put on ourselves as carpenters. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you guys. If you guys have any other questions, or you have any cons that you want to post, maybe I missed out on some, let me know in the comment section. If you guys leave me a comment, I will reply. If you guys have a question, I will reply. If you want to send me a DM or any kind of personal information, hit me on the Discord channel. I do have my email address listed on a couple of videos. I prefer we go more the Discord route, because I get the notifications a lot easier. So again, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you again next time.